Hey, NorCal Karters. It is Monday, June 20th, and tonight our special show is Kart Dads. So we're going to talk to a panel of kart dads, how they got into the sport, how they got their drivers into the sport, and once again, the chat lines are open. So if you have a certain question for the whole panel or one specific kart dad, let us know. And obviously, this is our show because it was Father's Day this past weekend, and yeah, because of my dad, I met some of the best people I could ever cross paths with. So um, it's Father's Day. Well, yesterday was Father's Day, and going back to '94, he's the one that got me into karting, and I've never looked back. I've been in karting in and out in my early years, all the way to actually without my dad, this show wouldn't be here because I wouldn't have taken over NorCal Karters. I wouldn't have met Ashley. She wouldn't have helped me with the show because it wasn't. I wouldn't have known her without my dad. So this whole thing is possible because of my dad. So happy Father's Day, Dad. And then real quick, some note keeping. This weekend, we have a couple events coming up. We have June 24th through the 26th. California Rock Championship is going to Pat's Acres. So I keep saying it over and over and over again. It's a beautiful track. It's a beautiful facility. It's a fun road trip for NorCal Karters. I mean, it's anywhere from 6 to 10 hours drive. But what a fantastic track! And we'll ask our panel if anyone's heading up there for Pat's Acres. But again, that's California Rock Championship, and they're heading to Pat's Acres this weekend. You can find more information at challengekarting.com. Also this weekend, down south is California Pro Kart Challenge at Cal Speed. And then back here in the Sacramento region, the Blue Max Kart Club, they have a club race this weekend. And also, a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Also in Sacramento at Prairie City Kart Track, we are hosting a swap meet on Sunday, June 26th. So it's free to sellers. It's free to buyers. The property itself charges $5 per vehicle to enter the property. But other than that, again, swap meet. It's a karting swap meet this Sunday at Prairie City. So those are my housekeeping notes. And without further ado, let's bring up Ashley.
Hey, NorCal. What's up? All right. We're in Sonoma over the weekend. And it was great racing. Of course, we're a little bit biased to our juniors. And we had, I have a couple of shout outs. Let's talk about Chris Martin. Shout out Chris Martin for a great race. And then our friend of the show, Andre Nakur, I think that's how you say his name. Both Jason and I say it differently, so we don't really know which is the correct way. Andre, put it in the chat phonetically so we know how to sound it out.
Andre Nackert.
Nackert.
Like
Knacker.
Turt.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna have to work on that. And then so CCKRA, we're looking forward to hearing from you guys. We are still looking for a race reporter for CCKRA. So if you race with CCKRA, go to any of the races or anything like that, reach out to us. We're trying to spread the news about them as well. So that'll be awesome. All right, let's get into it, Jason.
All right. So let's see here. Let's bring up I'm going to go in the order of our panel because it just makes it a lot easier. So let's bring up local kart dad, Chris Moyer. You're going to get the full screen, so get ready. Chris, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Moyer. I'm Casey Moyer's dad, currently racing in VR 100 at Sonoma, and he's running in Junior 2 in KPX this year. And we've been at this now since 2015. He's been driving since 2015 and racing since 2016.
Very cool. Who spins wrenches on the kart?
I do for the smaller stuff. This weekend, rock and anything anything rock and above, we usually bring in a mechanic. We had Steve Budelli this past weekend, did a great job. Unfortunately, our engine didn't want to compete for the whole event. Decided it wanted to get old about a third of the way through the main. It couldn't do it in practice, but Steve did a great job. He's his wrenching abilities are beyond mine, and his tuning abilities are mine are basically nil. So it was very good to have him in the pit. It's we're very fortunate.
Cool. Well, thank you for the introduction, and then let's see.
Quick shout support from our team at Speed Sense as well. Awesome.
All right, there you go. You got to plug the teams. Let's see. Next up, we will have Eric Altman. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well. So give our listeners an intro to who you are, who your driver is, and where you race.
You got it. I am the proud dad of the 818 Kart, Max Altman at Rock Sonoma. He also ran the Challenge of America series in Arizona at the beginning of the year. Did very well. And he's also running the KPX series out at Prairie City and the various other locations. We've missed a couple of those races, but he's doing pretty well. This is his first season ever in the 4-stroke. And in the 2-stroke, he got started in 2018 after spending a few years doing the electric indoor karting stuff. And they told us he was too good and we needed to move him up. And I'm brand new to all this karting stuff. So it was like, what does that mean? What do we do? And they said, well, you got to go outside, gas engine. And I'm like, okay, who do I call? What do I do? And they had no info for me, frankly. So I just sort of found it on my own. And eventually we got hooked up. We're now also running with Speed Sense Motorsports, Austin Elliott and the rest of the crew. And they have been fabulous to us. And we're doing great.
Perfect. All right, we'll bring you back on here in a little bit. Next, we're gonna have let's see here, Carlos Calderon.
Hey guys,
what's going on?
Nothing much. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. And who is your driver? Give us an introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name's Carlos Calderon. My son is Mateo Calderon. I raced micro last year and then mini this year. We moved up. We're racing at Rock Sonoma and we've raced all throughout the country in various other series. We're having a blast with it. We've been in karting for a while. Mateo's been racing 4 or 5 years now. We're having a blast with it. All
right. What chassis are you on? What team do you race for?
Yeah, we're on Aluminos here locally. We have been since we started. I've been running with Aluminos forever. We're doing USPKS this year, and we're running Nitro there. Nitro's been great. So we're kind of hopping back and forth.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And let's see here. Next up, Mark French. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, good, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for staying late for us. So for those who don't know, are you in Texas right now?
In Texas, in my shop. Yep.
So you're 2 hours ahead. So give everyone an introduction. Who is Mark French?
So I'm Mark French. I'm Jake French's dad, and we run Pro Tour, rock stuff. We run all over the world in shifter carts.
Very cool. Who spins the wrenches for your kid?
Me.
You.
Yep.
Who owns Full Gas Motorsports?
So Full Gas Motorsports is me. That's a Texas-based go-kart shop. We a little bit different in Texas for me. For Full Gas, we don't have a race team. Basically, I show up to our club races and regional races and support the local guy. Support the guys that don't want to be under a team. My goal to all of the privateers and stuff is to teach them what I've been, taught and learned over the past 18 years and to try to speed up their learning curve and work, primarily with the dads and the drivers on bridging a relationship and showing them, how I've done it with Jake over the past 18 years and help everybody out.
Very cool. And what chassis are you and Jake on?
Burrell Art.
Burrell Art.
Yes. And Mark is also rescheduled from our Burrell Chassis One-on-One show. So luckily we have Jake French's awesome dad here as well.
Yep. So if you
All
have any
right.
technical questions, put them in the chat lines.
Yeah, put him in the chat. He's back from Burrell.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have.
And I'm also curious in the chat lines, if anyone has a question on how do you manage your kid, you can put that in the chat lines too. We have an open forum here on NorCal Karters. And so we'll come right back to you, Mark. And last but not least, we have David Welsh. And real quickly, we have to give you a shout out because one of our main contributors to this show, his name is Ridgely. You probably know that driver.
That's my son.
That's your son.
My son. So, yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I'm a proud dad of Ridgely. We've been in the karting scene probably, I think we're into our fourth year. We got into it started out at K1 Speed. We got a suggestion from our mechanic on our car to go and check it out. I had no idea what it was about. But Ridge took to it right away, did really well there. Was winning so much that we decided to look further. We saw Scusa on TV and we're like, well, how do we get into this? And we got lucky and found Donald Durbin. So shout out to the Durbins out at Prairie City. And we got Ridgely's first chassis, and it was a Ricardo kart. And I think he went through 3 of those chassis from Donald, running the 4-stroke out at Prairie City. Did KPX for 2 years. Won Blue Max last year on that. And then he said, I'm ready to go faster. So now we've jumped ship. We're now doing 2-stroke. We're running the Sanzuru series this summer, getting the feet wet. He was running Junior 2 and everything until 2 weeks ago, and we just had to make the jump with the weight up to Senior. So it's all a new thing for him now, but he's progressing well. He's working his craft, and he had a really good weekend this past week up in Sonoma. Hit all his marks that we were looking for this week. Had a couple of really pretty passes. Hit the speed that we were looking for in the lap times. So shout out to Gary and Sonny at GFC. That's who we're running with, and we're really happy with it.
Very cool. Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to bring everybody up to the panel here. Let's see here. There we go. Perfect. All right. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We do appreciate it. And again, those that are listening, we have an open panel. Some of you kind of got into it already as far as how some of you and your drivers got involved. Mark, I'm going to start with you because I don't know if you actually said how you got involved. You said you've been around for 18 years, but how did you and Jake get involved in the sport?
Well, just small background on me. I've raced everything with wheels since I was a little kid. And it didn't matter what it was, whether it was a bicycle or a go-kart or a Formula car, drag car, motorcycle, dirt bike, bicycle. If I got a ride, I took it. And I was always racing something. Jake got into remote control cars at an early age, and we started traveling all over doing that when he was 6 or 7 years old. And a good friend of mine, Kenneth Wilkins, said, you guys ought to try to go-karts. I said, okay, I'll buy one. So I bought one first and raced it for 6-7 months and bought Jake one. I guess he was 7 or 8 years old, and he didn't want anything to do with it. He wouldn't let me start it. It was an old Yamaha KT100, and he didn't want anything to do with it. But as soon as I convinced him that, to get going, he pressed the gas pedal, and that's all she wrote. We've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about your preferred engine package and chassis. So Mark kind of already went in and said it was Burrell. What's your favorite engine package and why?
For us, I mean, we've been doing it a long time, and Jake came up through the ranks pretty quick and turned pro when he was 14. So he's been in a shifter cart for well over a decade now. But if I have to look at it, across the board, obviously the KA 100 for junior and senior class is really big here in Texas. 4-stroke obviously is good across the country. And then in shifter carts, we're really started to make a small movement in both the rock shifter and the KZ shifter. So that's kind of where we're at right now in the Burrell Art product.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's bring everybody around, Jason.
Sorry, I was asking a question earlier, but I didn't hit the unmute button. I don't think we got Carlos's background either. And then Eric, I don't think we got your background.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I've been karting for a while now. I think 16-ish years, maybe a little bit more. I started here in NorCal long time ago. Just working my way up and racing senior for a long time. Then eventually,
long time ago,
got old enough to start racing master, and Mateo was just dragged along with us. Christy, my wife's always been at the track with me, and so Mateo came to the track. I think Mateo might have been a few weeks old the first time he was at a go-kart track. He was at Button Willow. I mean, it was really, really soon. The first time he came to the track, I won. So I said, hey, he's coming along every time now. And so, he's been at the track. Rob Soros, the owner of Illuminos, he calls him a track rat. He's always there. He always was there. It just, he got used to it. And eventually he's like, hey, Dad, when do I get to drive one of those things? All right. Let's see what we can do. And so we got him in one, and he's been going ever since.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And then Chris, I don't think we got your story on getting into the sport.
There we go. Now we got a mic. Yeah. So coming as green can be, I grew up enjoying motorsports on TV. As a young man in my 20s, I was a huge fan of big fan of Formula One, and really developed an affinity for Porsches, and really got really enjoyed watching their dominance in the 80s and in endurance racing. I was working as a pile driver on the Napa Flood Control Project a bunch of years ago, before Casey was even born, and I was commuting back and forth to Marin, and I would drive by the track, and somehow I got wind of the fact that you could buy gas at Sonoma, and it was convenient. I went there, and I found the gas was kind of subsidized, I think, by the race fuels, a little cheaper than everywhere else. I would go there and pump gas and watch the guys on the track practice. One day nobody was on the big track, but I heard this buzzing sound behind me, so I drove up the hill, and I saw these carts, and I was like, ooh, and it just kind of filed that away. And Casey comes along, and I think he was 4 years old, and one day I just said, hey, you want to go for a ride? And he's 4, right? So what do they say when they're 4? So we went to the track, and we went and I saw a picture from sitting behind him right there, those stairs up to the scoring booth. And some people were on track practicing. I think it was a shifter and a cadet. And he was looking, and I said, does this look like fun? You want to try this? So I started looking online, Craigslist, eBay. I found this cart on eBay, a little kid cart. It had a Comer on it already. The guy wanted $900 for it, but it was in Florida. So I, messaged the seller, hey, how much do you think you could get that to California for? He says $100. I'm like, really? Yeah. So I bought it. He put it on a pallet, wrapped it with saran wrap, sent it out here. And that was, that's how we got started. And I just figured out how to start it and everything. And similar to Mr. French, the first time he sat in it, I said, here, push this, it makes the sound, and he's, you know, it's so loud when you're standing next to it. And he's revving away, and I'm doing the pedal for him. And I'm not looking at him. My wife's like yelling at me, banging on my shoulder. It's like, what? It's like he's in the street just screaming. He's just like terrified. But he got used to it, and he enjoys it a lot now. So yeah, just like I said, coming to it green and learning along the way. A lot of help from some, you know, the community. Everybody's so willing to help and everything. I think at first when the Ilifs were still living out here, Matt Ilif was my muse, and he helped me out with a lot of stuff. And ever since then, it's been, you know, teams, and we've come along as far as we have, in spite of me.
And speaking of teams, your team owner right here, it's been awesome to watch Casey Moyer fine-tune his racecraft. We're very proud of him here at Speed Sense. So
Thanks,
there
Austin.
you go. Shout out Casey Moyer.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, and then here we go. Who was next? David?
So my background, it's not in motorsports. You know, I was fortunate enough to fall in being a stay-at-home dad for Ridge, and just looking for things for him to do. You know, we tried all the team sports, none of them worked out, and I just had the feeling with him playing with cars as much as he did that he might like go-karts. So I took him to Go-Kart Racer when they were still opened in Burlingame. And he said no at first. But before I could get home, he said, I'll try it. So when we went back, he got on the track, and there was another kid there, and he's never been in a kart before. This was prior to K1 Speed. And he just took to it and lapped the poor little guy several times. And from there, we went to K1 Speed and just progressed through.
Yeah, indoor does a great job as far as getting the average non-karting motorsports fan into the sport, because it's very accessible. I mean, it's cheap. Honestly, it's cheap compared to, you know, what we're doing with the racing kart stuff. So it's like, it's also a good budget tester. But and then we had Eric. Eric, you said very similar. It was indoor.
Yeah, Max started indoor. Really, I got to give credit, I believe, to my wife. Max can be very hyper. He's an adrenaline junkie, and we've known this for years. And so as soon as he was tall enough, and he's not very tall, as you guys know, even now at 14, but as soon as he was tall enough, I think it was 8 years old, we took him to a place that the pandemic put out, but in Fairfield, called Driven Raceway, which is now going to be a K1 in that same location. And he just loved it. I mean, over the next couple of years, he probably ran over 200 quote unquote races there, which is a best lap time is how they did it. And he didn't win maybe 35 times out of 200. So he won 165 times. That's why they were telling us, you got to move him up. But because I have no racing background, I'm a New York metro area kid. So if you think I talk funny, you're wrong. But I'm glad you get that, Jason. But you know, it's been a blast. But I'm learning tons. You know, we got into the outdoor stuff. The only place I had ever heard of was Sim Raceway. So I called Sim Raceway, and the first time I called, I got no help. He was 9.5, I think, at that point, not quite 10. They said, we deal with 13 and up. And I'm like, can you tell me who I can reach out to? No. So I'm left stranded, and I don't know where to look even, because this is all new to me. Probably 6 to 9 months later, I call him back because, again, I didn't know where else to call. I got somebody different on the phone this time, thank God. And they said, yeah, we only deal with 13 and up. And Max was, definitely 10 at this point. But why don't you give this guy, Ron White, a call? And so we called Ron, and we started with Ron, and we ran the first 3 years of Max running with Ron White in the CRG. And Max last year decided he wanted to test out other karts, other chassis. So he tested the GFC and he tested the OTK. And from the moment he tried the OTK, he loved the chassis. We tested that before the GFC, and Max was really ready to just, okay, we're going to go with the OTK. I said, look, we've got everything set up. Let's test the GFC, see what you think. Plus, he also knew people who were running with the GFC team, and it was like, you'll make the call, but check it out. And he made the decision. He just preferred the OTK that much. And he thought Speed Sense and Austin, he felt a really good connection with the team and with Austin as team owner. And it's been a great experience for us. But again, we've got nothing but kudos and thanks to Ron White. And likewise, Austin and Speed Sense have been just phenomenal. And I'll give a shout out to my teammate here, Chris Moyer. Chris says he doesn't know anything about wrenching. Well, compared to me, Chris is a freaking genius at wrenching. I am so green at the wrenches that it is absolutely ridiculous. But I'm doing my best, and I am learning a ton. And it's been a blast for me to learn this stuff. I don't think I'm particularly good. There are some things I absolutely suck at, like tire changing, which I don't do because I've tried it too many times and failed. But I can move the engine. I can change the chain. I can change the gear. I can even assist with an axle change. This weekend for this race, I actually Austin was teaching me how to do front end alignments. So I'm trying to soak it up like a sponge, but it's been a challenge, but it's been fun. I like learning.
And in case anyone's wondering, Max Altman is the one that gave Christian Cameron a run for his money this weekend. So that was very exciting to watch as well. It was a great race. And I kept telling everybody, if you are not on the fence watching this race, you need to be on the fence watching this race. And it was just great. I look, my Ridgely threw right into Monaco and kept it clean. Like, it was amazing. And the whole time I was just like, why couldn't you guys do this when the camera crew was here?
I was thinking the same thing.
Next time we expect the same drama. And I even threatened Christian Cameron. I said, maybe we just pick next time and mix everyone up. So
well, I was just going to say, I think maybe we need to get Christian to come out, and then Max and Christian can go at it once again. Maybe Anthony can kind of jump and join in the mix a little bit and kind of go from there. But it was a blast. And then also when Casey's engine was working, he was actually ahead of Anthony. So that that it could have, if Casey's engine didn't die on him, we could have been 4 wide.
I do like that P-pick idea because whatever we can do to get off the outside row at the start would be great.
All right.
P-pick would be awesome.
I'll see what I could do.
So one of our questions that we have, and being that, again, this is a Kart Dad show, we're dealing, sometimes we're dealing with junior drivers. Some, in Mark's case, we're dealing with an adult driver. But what is something, a life experience that you want your kids to take away from karting? Why did you get into karting is from a life experience standpoint. And what would you like them to take away? Let's start with Carlos.
Number one is just being able to spend time with each other. That like, hey, I spent all this time with Dad, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Remember all those years we spent at the track together, Dad? Remember when we did this? Remember when we went there? Remember what we did after the race? That's the number one thing for us. I think we're experiencing and developing memories that will certainly last our entire lives. Aside from that, working hard. I think that can go so far in life. And if I can instill that, it doesn't matter how well you're doing or what the outcome is as long as we're working hard at it, then that's what's important. And I think that'll serve them really well in life. So I think those are the two most important things, at least to me.
So I did have a question come in specifically for Carlos that I think I'm going to ask him now. So it says, do you get nervous when you have to watch your kids make mistakes that you know better than to do because of your karting experience?
I don't know if I get nervous. I get frustrated, perhaps, where I with my experience, I can see it coming sort of like a mile away. Like, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. So this is what he should do, and then he does something else. And so yeah, it can be a little frustrating at times, but that's the whole process, right? Like we can't skip the process, and the process is half of the fun. So it's fun to see him, develop through that. So like, hey, this happened, and this is what you should have done. And the next time it happens, he does the right thing. That's really satisfying. So, the frustration is short, and the satisfaction is long, I think.
All right.
So let's follow up with Mark French. Same question for you, because now, how old is Jake now?
He's 26.
So he's 20. So he's well into adulting.
Yes, and I'll echo a lot of what Carlos said. Obviously, it's definitely, I couldn't imagine, all being able to see all the places that we've done without, karting being involved. We've literally traveled all over the world and the United States. But for me too, it's, as he gets older, it's sportsmanship, helping the younger drivers, and just trying to give back to the sport where he's at right now. He's still competitive. He still loves to race, but he's definitely finding himself in that age group where the younger guys are starting to come up. And, for me, it's, teach them what we've been taught, what we've learned together, and trying to help the younger guys, so it's been fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris Moyer.
Yeah.
Same question for you. What do you hope Casey learns from your whole karting adventure?
I don't know that I could have any expectations for what he'll take away from this or what he's learned beyond what he has. I'm continually amazed by what he's gotten out of it already, and not just him, but all these kids. They seem mature beyond their years. That with what they're doing and the way they have to compete so intensely in an individual sport, yet trust each other in terms of the safety, and that they they can be that close doing what they're doing. I played sports in high school, but I played team sports. I never played individual sports. So I see him getting a value out of this in terms of an individual sport, in terms of self-motivation and drive and desire and maturity. That really something I didn't anticipate when we got into it. Like I said, I came into it, I had no experience, so I never anticipated in this. As far as what I hope someday, I know someday I won't be here, and I don't know whether he's in a race trailer someday, maybe, or if he's in some horrible little cubicle somewhere when he's got those quiet moments, those reflective moments, I just, if he can look back on those days with his old man, driving in the car, driving in the van to go to races, and being in the pits, and the time we spent together, I will have considered my existence one well spent.
All right, David Welsh, you got to follow that one up.
We started this journey just trying to find a sport, an activity that my kid could participate in with some pleasure. So we didn't really have much beyond that, but it's turned into quite a bit more. The karting community has offered so much pleasure for us that, it's right up there with our annual vacation to Hawaii. Every race weekend is just such good, pure family time. It's time well spent together. But I can say that, what I have noticed in my own son is the amount of confidence that he has in himself now has boosted beyond what I ever expected of him. He's got a level of self-confidence that at the age he is, I didn't have. And that comes from karting. The hard work that it takes to get good. I can't tell you how many laps he's done at Prairie City. And it paid off. He won. He got third in their championship last year behind two top-notch racers, and he was on their bumpers. And we did the same thing at Davis. We put in lap time, and it paid dividends, and he's seeing that. You do the hard work, you're going to get something out of it. So, those are good lessons, and I do hope that he takes that with him.
All right. And Eric Altman, same question. You're going to wrap up that segment for us.
Sure.
What do you hope Max learns from this whole karting journey?
Well, first off, I think the other dads have really hit a lot of it and done so beautifully. I would simply add or kind of play off of that. I hope Max learns perseverance, sticking with something, which when accompanied with hard work and having the desire to learn, really sets you up no matter what you do. I mean, he wants to be a driver. That's his goal at age 14. Don't know if it's going to happen. Certainly hope it does. But even if it doesn't, to have those skills, to be able to learn, work hard, and stick with it, and fight through it. And frankly, I gotta say, to a certain extent, this past weekend, he showed some of that. He got his first pole ever in qualifying. In the first heat race, he was nervous, and it showed. He got passed twice, fairly early. Second heat race, he got passed once, a little bit later in the race, and only once. Then in the main event, he led most of the way. He got passed in the last corner by a very talented and very well experienced, especially at the Sonoma track, driver in Christian Cameron. And so it just the learning that he showed over the course of a day, it's made me very proud of what he's doing. It was just pretty phenomenal to see see that, and I believe that he is learning that the hard work and perseverance and just the wanting to learn and improve and get better is that's the key to success, whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'll bring everyone back up here. Gear Nuts. What were your initial reactions going indoor electric to an outdoor track on gas? My son still makes me cringe on the track, but I have to learn to trust him. Am I the only dad that gets that?
Hey, I'm going to jump in because I've mentioned a couple of times that that's where Max started. And I think, others likewise, but I'll bail you out here, Jason. I still get nervous and, when he's on the track, but I've learned to trust him. I mean, he is. I'm afraid to say this publicly, because I think I'm a pretty good car driver. He disagrees, but I think I'm always in control. He may be already a better driver than I am, because he is racing, as we all saw. I mean, they are side by side, bumper to bumper. I mean, literally, a half inch between them, less sometimes, and
Yeah.
side by side likewise. I mean, they are wheel to wheel, and they're doing it at 60, 70 miles an hour. So yeah, it's gear nuts. My only comment is it's different, it's faster, but trust your kid and just suck it up.
David, how do you follow that up?
I do want to ask Carlos this question, because I don't think Mateo just started full out in gas, right? He didn't start in indoor.
No,
So and I remember him being little. Like right now I can't remember which one's smaller, micro or mini, because I did points today.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just remember him
young.
being a little guy.
Yeah.
And,
And there were times where, it was a little hairy, and me, being in the community for so long, there's definitely that sentiment, that the feeling that, like, oh boy, don't do that. And so, you just gotta let them go. I mean, that's the only way they're gonna learn, right? And it's difficult. It's super difficult at times, but you just got to let go. I mean, that's part of being a dad, by being a parent, is you got to let them sort of learn on their own. And that's sort of where the magic happens, right? Let them go and see how they progress.
Yeah. All right. And then
circling back to David. So it is not even necessarily indoor. It's just you're watching your kids on the track. Like, it's for me, it's a little different. I've been spinning wrenches for a long time, but
we went about
it's not my kid.
We went about it pretty methodically. First of all, my wife is very nervous and anxious. We had to have the dinner table conversation, and it literally, and I did not coach Ridgely on this, but he basically told her, "Mom, this is what I want to do. This is my life." She couldn't refuse it. But we still did our due diligence, and the first time he was in an outdoor kart was at Sonoma with Donald Durbin. Donald did a lead and follow to show him around the track. Did he spin out a couple times? Yeah. But you know what? It didn't scare him. And at that point, I knew he's going to be fine. And he was. He fractured his arm this year in an accident at Sonoma. And he's back at it. This is what he wants to do. So I have confidence in him.
Yeah. Mark, does it ever get easier as they get older?
No, it does. It gets a lot easier. I don't get. Somebody asked me that the other day when I was on the fence watching him race, and no, I mean, I fully trust him, and for me personally as a dad, I just want him to win. I know his capabilities. I know what he can do, and as his mechanic for over 18 years, my thing is, I start worrying, did I do my job right? I mean, when he is leading or when he is in a position to win, I start second guessing, did I leave something tied or whatever. But I do remember when he was young, throwing him in his first race, and here in Texas, the KT 100s, we had 20 to 25 karts in the field, and as a rookie he started in the back, and I just remember just about wanting to puke when he started in the back and started making his way through the field. I was so nervous for him, but it probably took 2 or 3 races, and he showed what he was capable of, and all that started to ease a little more, and then the pressure was on me to make sure I didn't make any mistakes and turning the wrenches, and it's still that way today.
Yeah, I'll agree on turning the wrenches part. I get just as nervous about that. Oh man, hopefully I didn't leave anything loose. The air box is gonna fall off here. It's the worst.
I had it a couple of weeks ago. I was leading the race, and all I kept thinking of is, is anything gonna happen? So.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about
what happened to Chris?
Adjustments minutes before the race. So Carlos kind of touched on this while we were preparing for the show, but before the main event this weekend, Mateo's cart was on the chassis table like minutes before the main event, right? Tell us about
that. Sure. So he was on pole, and I think he won or got second the first heat. Oh yeah, he won the first heat by 0.03 of a second. It was like a race to the line photo finish. Second heat, it was an incident, and he ended up crashed out. Well, I mean, he finished, but came off, and I was worried about carburation for some reason. So I was looking at the carb, and then I thought, yeah, I better spend my time now looking at the front end, because the crash, which didn't look terrible, but when I threw the lasers on, the right front was up like a centimeter. I was like, oh shoot. So I quickly started pulling things off the go-kart, and luckily the Illumino shop is right there at the track. I was the only one racing, or Mateo and I were the only one racing from the Illuminos team yesterday or this weekend. And so we wheeled the cart down to the shop, and I thought, I'll just pull the chassis table right out of the back of the shop. We'll throw it on. We'll straighten it up, and we'll be out of there. It'll be tight, but I can get it done. But I showed up at the shop, and the whole shop is all packed up in the trailer, ready to go to Pat's Acres for the Cal Rock Series, which is a one race thing now. But shout out to them. That's a great event, great track. And so the whole trailer's packed up. So I had to unpack part of the trailer to get the chassis table out, get it out, throw the cart on the table. And thanks to my wife, who's lifting the cart onto the chassis table, and realize the kingpin's bent. So it's bent on the bottom, and all right, so I got to cut that off. Go to try to find the angle grinder. Angle grinder's packed up in a cabinet, and it's in the trailer. It's stuffed up against with carts, so I can't get to that. So I get the hacksaw out, start hacking away at the bottom of the kingpin, get it cut, and then try to get it worked up and out of the C and the spindle, and it won't come out because it's bent just enough at the bottom. I should have known, but I was hoping for the best. So anyway, so I had to cut the top of the kingpin, get it through, get it back on the chassis table, bend it, get it all back together, made a gear change at the last second, got him to the grid before the scheduled time, although everyone was up there a little bit early, and got him off. So yeah, it was a bit of a thrash, but we made it work.
So that is a quick note, though. I do want to mention we were at I think 20 minutes ahead of schedule, but you had notified somebody. You said, "Hey, we are going to make the main, but if we're not there early, just hold the grid." And the Camerons are real. We did that last year. We missed a racer because they didn't hear the announcements that we were ahead, and the Camerons put their foot down. They're like, "No, we're not doing running ahead unless everybody's on the grid." So kind of a message to everyone out there: if you run into that situation, let the tower know. Say, "Hey, this is my situation. I'm not scratching. We're gonna make it, but I'm gonna need all of that allotted time for the schedule."
And Mateo was standing on the grid, and he let us know, "I'm here. I'm here. You're not waiting for me. We're waiting for my cart." And I was like, all right, he's there.
That's good.
So
Actually,
our buddy John Smith, he brought up a question, and I'm going back and forth on this. Like, do I want to bring this up or not? But I think it's relevant. When you see your kid get into a bad accident, do you think that this will be the last race you will do?
We had no, I said that thumbs down. We had a bad wreck. Mateo did beginning of last year. We were at Challenge of the Americas, Cal Speed, and Mateo flipped it. A couple of carts spun in front of him. He had nowhere to go. Ended up hitting tire to tire, and then it flipped him over. No, my first reaction was, of course, is he okay? I saw him get out from underneath the cart, walk away on his own. I could tell that he was nervous and maybe a little bit hurt, but as soon as he got back to the pits, made sure he was okay. And the first thought is, how do we get him out for the next one? But that I've been there before. I've been around that sort of stuff. So it's probably a lot easier for me to deal with those sorts of emotions. But no, I don't think bad wrecks are the end all be all for your enjoyment and your competition. It's part of it, just like any other sport, right? You get hurt, you break an ankle or you break an arm playing whatever, you get hit by a pitch. It's part of the journey, right? It's part of the perseverance. It's something you got to learn. Same thing's going to happen in life. You're going to get hurt doing whatever it is that you do. And you got to figure out a way to keep going.
The first time I ever got hit by a pitch was in the face by my dad. Happy Father's Day. I still love baseball. David or Eric, have you guys run into that situation yet where it was an accident where you're like,
I'll chime in. Ridge has had a couple, actually. His first one was at IKF at Pat's Acres. He had coming down into turn one. I think there were 28 carts in the class, and he was mid-pack. And his teammate got completely run up over top of her. Cart went over top of her and was on top of her. He got kind of T-boned and thrown out of the cart, and his foot was stuck on the side pod, and he was being dragged through the infield till he freed himself. And his cart went running through the infield at Pat's Acres. They called it the ghost cart because all the track crew was chasing it. But he walked out of that, and he had a wrist injury, but he raced. He raced the next day fine. And as I said before, he fractured his arm in February on a practice day at Sonoma. It was scary. It was very unfortunate. A cart spun in front of him, and he ran right up the side of the radiator, and it went airborne, barrel rolled, landed right on top of him. And I knew it wasn't good because he didn't get up right away. But through his PT, I could see right away he wanted to get back in the cart. The first thing he asked the doctor was, how long is this going to take? Because I want to race. We wound up missing one race. So, it's up to the kid. But he wanted to do it, and he endured.
Eric, have you run across that yet?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in, and I'll follow what David just said, which is ultimately it's up to Max in my case. We've had a couple of things this year. Somehow he has never gotten injured, and I don't know how, other than a minor scrapes. But this year he flipped his cart, brand new cart, I might add, at Challenge down in Phoenix. First time he was running it in Tucson, we were running a loaner cart, basically. Phoenix, we got his new 2022 OTK X3 cart, and he flips it. And he bounces out, gets up instantly, and I didn't quite see it flip. What I saw was Max bounce up off the ground and start doing this, waving his arms, and kind of just signaling that, hey, the cart's here on the side. I'm fine, but watch out, be careful. There's a flipped cart here. And it was actually not flipped over. It was on its side. And yeah, it was nerve-wracking. The year before, he got run over, and I don't know how he didn't get hit. But I think it was at turn one at Sonoma, a cart behind him went up over him hit his wheel, the steering wheel. We have it mounted on his wall. It's bent like a pretzel, a nice five different little bends in it, but it's kind of bent over. And somehow he wasn't hit, wasn't hurt. The scariest one for me, actually, and the one that impacted him most, was actually an indoor karting incident where he got T-boned, and his electric kart was angled, pushed up onto its side with him sitting in it, and he was 8 years old, or maybe 9 at the point that happened.
Oh, no.
There you go. You got it. That's the steering wheel. And yeah, so, but he took a few weeks off of the indoor racing at that point, maybe a month and a half at most. And then he wanted to go back and do it again. And it was like, look, if you want to do it, the risk, you see it, you've lived it. I'm not going to say no. When he flipped his, he just, the way he popped up, and he was so anxious to get back into the kart. It was like Austin had to kind of hold him back for a moment, and we had to make sure that he was physically okay before we let him get back in. But so yeah, no, I mean it hasn't. I think that question might impact the moms more than the dads, to be honest. Not to be sexist here, but I think the moms might get a little more nervous. The dads are like, hey, look, you get bumps and bruises, and that happens, and you just bounce back from them. So it's Max's call. As long as he wants to keep going, he's going to keep going, as long as I can afford to keep him in it.
Hey, Chris, you still with us?
Chris, can you hear us?
Oh,
Can you hear us, Chris?
yeah, I got it.
All right. Your
Yeah,
turn.
my phone. Man, if it's not the engine, it's the phone overheating. So we're on the
Check
tablet.
the read.
Yeah, so Casey's been upside down twice and run over 2 or 3 times, and mostly I think upside down once in kid kart, one upside down at Rock the Rio and Micro, run over a couple times, and all I can say is, I got to give props to the sanctioning bodies. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're picking up an echo somewhere.
Oh, I'll mute it here. All I can do is give props to the sanctioning bodies and the safety equipment they mandate, because so far, we've been fortunate.
All right, Mark French, wrap up that segment for us.
We've actually been really fortunate in the 18 years and being all over the world. Jake's never been upside down. He's been on his side once or twice. Definitely gotten run over once or twice. But honestly, his worst wrecks were this past year in KA. He took on a role to help develop the Burrell KA kart and did some races in that. And quite honestly, it just, I mean, I hate to say it, but the sportsmanship and the racing in that class is not good. And, Jake expected a little bit more out of the racers, and he got run over once in Indiana, running top 5. Guy just ran literally right up over the top of him, dislocated his finger, and Jake just pulled it back into place. But then in Orlando, this year he's running top 3, and they go 6 or 7 wide down the straightaway. And Jake's the one that gets turned on the straightaway and, head on into the wall. And so that, he said, I'm not racing KA anymore. So, which is bad, and hopefully that can, get a little better. But we've been very fortunate that he's, and, over the past 10 years, other than the KA stuff, he's pretty much raced the top guys for the last 10 years, and they all know each other really well, and they all challenge each other to the nth degree. And, they play the game of chicken quite a bit on the breaks. But fortunately there's no bad accidents in there.
Yeah. And I find that an interesting perspective with Jake running shifter for so long. And it almost seems like when the drivers are in Briggs or KA and the clutch kart stuff, It's almost like they have that indoor bumper car mentality. It's like, oh, I'm just going to move you out of the way. And there's some very, very skilled drivers in the tag stuff. And there's more skilled drivers in tag than shifter currently. But you look at the guys in shifter and it's like there's just an unspoken mutual respect. Like, hey, we're in race vehicles. Let's not go kill each other.
Well, for me, what, and I may be speaking out of turn here, but they, most of the organizations in shifter let them self-police each other a little bit. And what I mean by that is, as long as it's not a malicious, put yourself into the wall kind of thing, the boys, and I'll call them the boys, there's probably 5 to 10 of them, men actually, they take care of themselves. If you do one of them wrong, and they feel you did them wrong, well, you're going to get wrong back the next race. And it's nothing malicious like put yourself into the wall, but you're going to get passed and you're going to get moved out of the way. And you did it to me last week, you're going to get it this week. But, for me, and this is we can get way off tangent here, but for me, being in it so long, almost 20 years, this has really developed in the last 5 to 7 years, in my opinion, the kind of racecraft that we see, and more in the last 3 years. And I don't know where it's being taught or what's happening. Maybe it's because the bumpers are bigger and there's more safety around it. And like you said, Jason, maybe it's a little more the indoor karting, and there's more bumpers and stuff that people think they can rub and touch more. But, there's been, listen to all you guys, most of you have been in this 4 years on this panel, maybe 4 or 5 years at the most. And all of you dads have experienced flips, been in it 18 years, and, my kid's never been upside down. So I don't know, it's just, for me, that's what I see. And I hope, I think, Jason, you probably saw the thing that went out today, with all 3 organizations binding together. I think that speaks volumes for the sport. I hope something could be done, but, with that. But again, I get way off.
I saw videos too, and it was like, I couldn't believe it. Like that's not racing. It's not racing.
Yeah. But I think the three big organizations getting together speaks volumes for the sport, and I hope that sends a message, to some of the drivers and teams that that's kind of stuff's not going to be tolerated anymore. But anyway,
no, I saw that press release. I think Scusa sent it out first, and I saw the press release. Like that's good. Like they need that.
Yes.
Because that way you just don't have people hopscotching. It's like, all right, I'll just go run over there. I'll go run. And it's like, well, now you don't have a place to run. And the teams are going to think about that as like, oh, wait, now I just lost a customer. I can't just take them to the next series.
Nope.
I just lost the spot.
Right.
Yeah. Jason, do you want to pull up that press release?
And
then while Jason's doing that, does anybody have any other kind of thoughts about that?
I think it's a great thing for the sport. Honestly, it is a long time coming. We've needed it for a really long time. I mean, we've never really had a proper ASN, an ASN that can establish rules throughout all the series in the U.S. And it's long overdue. And what happened in Utah, from what I hear, because I wasn't there, should never happen. But we do need to sort of understand some of the details that are of how this is going to come together, and how they're all going to cooperate, all the 3 series, and what it means exactly. To back up just a little bit to what Mark was saying about respect, and particularly in K. I think in shifter there's a prolonged history amongst drivers that really helps. It's not just I'm showing up to the track and I'm going to race 50 guys that I've never heard of or seen or raced with before, and you'll see something similar in the top level X30 and KA, where there is some history there and they do race each other better. You get to the midfield and to the back of both KA and X30, and it's atrocious. I mean, it's terrible. Jake, who was doing awesome in Orlando, got spun at the front of the field. But again, there's less consistency amongst entries and drivers there. There's not the prolonged history and relationships that I think are needed to be able to race people with respect, because racing someone with respect, it takes, as in the common saying is that you have to give and take. It's the taking part. It's the giving part that's the hard part. And so giving to somebody that you don't know is difficult to do. And so if you have that relationship with somebody or with a bunch of people, it's a lot easier to give.
Yes. And so, thank you, Shirley. So the press release that we're talking about is the official statement from Rock Cup, SCUSA, and USPKS. They're going to be coming out with some new guidelines and stuff for sportsmanship and for attendees and drivers alike. So we're gonna again, we'll let you know if we hear anything about that. But it was released today, and we're all kind of waiting to see what comes out of this.
Sounds like over the next couple of days they'll have more details and stuff going on. And it's readily available on the SCUSA website, Facebook. I first saw it on Kart Chaser. They're pretty on top of it for that kind of stuff. We don't want to bring it up to put a downer on the situation, but at the same time, it is we kind of crept that direction anyway, and it is good to see. It is good to see that there's actually unity for once in a very long time in karting between the big organizations. Hey, at least it's one thing. We'll start there. So
yeah. All right. So we're going to start wrapping up the show with shout outs and
I didn't ask where their favorite food place is and
okay. So in your shout out, can you shout out your favorite place that you like to eat while you're traveling while racing? There you go. All right. We'll just start with the screen. Carlos, you can go first.
Sure. Okay. I gotta spend most time on food because that's what Jason wanted. Okay. So I've got two answers. And if you know, the best place to eat around Sonoma is Rob Soros's Pit.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. Actually, it's just too bad I didn't have some photos I could have shared. For instance, one race last year, we did a seafood bake at the track. So fish and shrimp and clams and lobster, all cooked there and family style. It was it's phenomenal. If you've never had Rob's steak, his tri-tip, it's awesome.
You guys did wood-fired pizzas 2 races ago.
That's right. Yeah. Shout out to the Baldwins who did that, and Jason Berry came by with his world famous margaritas. It's always a good time at the Aluminos Pit, and even better food. So that's number one. Number two, soul food in San Rafael is awesome. If you haven't been to soul food, it's phenomenal.
I have PK sauce in my cabinet.
There you go. That's good.
All right.
So shout out to Aluminos. Shout out to Nitro Kart, Ultra Racing Engines. They let us do what we do. And shout out to my very favorite driver, Mateo Calderon.
That's awesome.
And we see your ID handles there in the bottom.
Yeah, those are IG. Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you, Carlos.
And congratulations on the win this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Happy Father's Day, Carlos. Okay, next we will have Eric Altman. go ahead, shout outs.
Yeah.
And your favorite place to eat while you're traveling.
Well, I'll start with the second one about food first, because my favorite place to eat is going to be very different than my driver's favorite place to eat. Um, Max is the white meat, breast meat chicken, deep fried in whatever form you want to, breaded and deep fried, whatever form you want to call it. Chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, chicken fingers, chicken bites. I got to be a half a dozen other names as well. So for Max, we're always going, and unfortunately, I have to eat there usually as well, to a fast food joint. And there's not really a favorite. When I get the chance to eat differently than him, and sometimes it happens if at Sonoma, if we're doing I can get him stuff from the food truck. I can get him the chicken strips and fries, and he's happy. And if we're doing an Angelo's Deli run, I can get a sandwich. That's pretty darn good.
Yes.
But there are other even better, more sit down restaurants in the area that I just don't get a chance to go to. So now on to the shout outs. Big shout out to the Speed Sense Motorsports team, Austin Elliott as a team owner and driver coach and so on, Nathan Lavery, Mitchie and Grant, and the other families who are part of the team have also been an absolute pleasure. Particularly the Moyers. I mean, we've become friendly. Max and Casey are buds. The Iserts on the team, likewise. The Hodges. I mean, it's just been a great team. Great families. Also, shout outs to my wife for not freaking out, and to my son Sam, who has no interest at all in karting, but is an amazing, wonderful kid. And then to my driver, Max. He's learning and growing leaps and bounds, and I'm thrilled to see it. And it's been just fabulous. And others who have come in and helped even periodically with the team, who've given me pointers, from Ben Calvo and Steve Bedelli and some others whose names are escaping me at the moment, but really appreciate the advice and guidance in terms of the wrenching, which is something I'm really trying to learn, but I've got a long way to go.
All right, Eric, thanks for hanging out with us. Happy Father's Day. All right, next we'll go with Mark. Go ahead, shout outs and favorite place to eat while you're on the road.
Well, I'll go with the food thing first too, and Jason knows this. So margaritas, Mexican food, doesn't matter where, and that's the same thing with Jake too. So we're always on the hunt to find a good Mexican food place, no matter where we're at, across the world or United States. Shout outs, PSL Karting, Burrell Art, obviously. Congratulations to Burrell Art for going 1, 2, 3 in the last European Championship race, which was pretty cool. And also Full Gas, my business, and appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks for making the time, Mark. I know you're 2 hours ahead.
Yeah, no worries. This got me out of working in the shop late, so it's good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and happy Father's Day, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll go with David. And there you go, sir.
I'll hit the food places up first as well. When we're out in Prairie City, we like to go to El Dorado Hills to a little family restaurant called Visconti's, a little Italian place. Encourage you to try it out. They do a real nice job on pizzas, pastas, and it's all family recipes. When we're driving through Stockton, we stop off at Market Tavern whenever we can. They just do, again, it's made fresh right there using fresh ingredient. And the reason I'm saying these places is because we live on the peninsula south of San Francisco, so we travel when we go to race a lot as well, just back and forth. We also will easily pick up a pizza at Zachary's Pizza, formerly in San Ramon, but now in Pleasantville. And we love a Nation's hamburger, better than In-N-Out, believe it or not, but a lot more calories too. I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my favorite dads at the track. I'm gonna say that's Barry Barnwell. The guy is top notch, always helpful, always has something good to say about my son, and I miss him. Don't see him much, but I do follow him still. Chris Chung, to you for being an awesome dad for your daughter Charlotte. You guys are doing awesome. And if by any chance our old buddy Ron Jenkins down in Tampa, if you're listening, we missing you too, buddy. Thank you for inviting me to be on the show tonight.
Yes, of course. Thank you, and happy Father's Day, David.
Thanks again. All right.
All right. Last but not least, we'll have Chris Moyer. So, favorite places to eat while on the road and shout out.
So it depends, right? Because we live in such an incredible mecca for karting. There's so many places to drive. If we're coming home from Prairie City, it's going to be Spaghetti Factory in Folsom. Coming home from Sonoma, Habit Burger in Vallejo. If we're coming home from either Blue Max or Kinsman, it's got to be Burgerlicious in Rio Vista. And in terms of shout outs, there's so many people, so in no particular order, and apologies if I get anything wrong, if I miss anybody. The I-lifts when we first started, the I-certs for when we first started, and still Chad's a tremendous help. The teams we've been on, I got to say hi to Greg Bell. He get us off to a great start at Leading Edge, and through that relationship with him, we had Casey got the opportunity to travel to Rock Cup World Finals because we got to meet Cash Van Bell, the director of motorsport at IPK. That was a tremendous opportunity to drive in Europe. Shout out to everybody at the track who's always so helpful. The teams work so well together, and they're so generous, and they're always willing to help each other out, even though they're competing. Of course, it can't go without saying the greatest kart mom in the sport, my wife Elizabeth, who's amazing. She'll run home. She'll drive 50 miles, 100 miles round trip, because, I forgot the Whatchahoozits, and boom, she's off to go get it or get one or find one. She's come up with Nerf bars. I don't know if she knits them or what in races, have been bent. And of course, shout out to our current team, Austin, and the guys at Speed Sense, such a tremendous help. Again, Steve Budelli and Ben Calvo, who both wrenched for us, and that their knowledge, their depth of knowledge, and the help that they bring is amazing. And of course, last but never ever least is shout out to my favorite driver and someone who's brought so much light and happiness into my life, and just really taught me a lot about people, about myself, and this guy right here. So, Chops, I love you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Happy Father's Day. All right, Jason, you're muted.
I am muted. Yeah, I was muted. Are you closing us out tonight? Looks like it.
Yeah.
All right. So just to recap, thank you for joining us for the Kart Dads show tonight. And thank you to everyone commenting and chatting. If you like what we're doing, just simply like our channel and hit share. The more subscribers we have, the more opportunities we can have in the future with some other stuff. So like, subscribe, share. If you're wondering where the Rock-Sonoma broadcast was, we weren't able to do video this weekend, but we did do audio only. You can find that on NorCalKarters.com or on Facebook under NorCal Karters. So we have the audios of the main event. I was starting to lose my voice there after the 100cc junior race, but it was a great weekend of racing. And just to recap a couple of the events, we have this weekend, California Rock Championship. They are going to Pat's Acres. So they're going to do a single one-off event for tickets for Rock Vegas. So again, that takes place this weekend. You can find information on them at challengekarting.com. California Pro Kart Challenge, they're at CalSpeed. Blue Max Kart Club has an event this weekend. And also Sunday at Prairie City. You can find all the information at NorCalKarters.com. There's going to be a swap meet at Prairie City, a karting swap meet at Prairie City on Sunday, June 26th. So check that out. And just remember, if we all get one person into karting, we'll double by next year.
All right, NorCal. So coming up, our next 3 shows, we're going to have our girls show. We're going to have a junior show. And we are going to do a masters show. So juniors, masters, if you're any of those in that category and would like to be on our panel, send us a DM and we'll try and get you on. Once again, thank you to all of our Kart Dads that have joined us tonight. And as always, if you want to talk about karting, come on my show. Peace, NorCal.